The biggest problem facing stackers has nothing to do with understanding all the reasons why we buy metals like gold, silver, and platinum. We've got that down cold. In fact, the biggest problem is so incredibly sinister and so intentional that I felt like I needed to cover this. Hold tight and give me a few moments. I'll not only share the biggest problem, but I'll also share how to combat it. But let's start with some positivity first, because I love stacking, and one of the things I love the most is hearing the variety of reasons why people stack. While I personally love the chase of finding good deals, one of my big whys for stacking is how buying gold, silver, and platinum has made me a better steward of my fiat dollars. Some of you might have whys related to the history or the beauty of coins, the collectability, the savings aspect, or for the protections that metals offer. If you watch some of my previous videos, you can probably tell that I stack like an investor, or what I call a stacking investor. I know many in the community don't like to think of metals this way, but in my last video, I showed you this chart which shows the performance of gold, silver, the Dow, and S&P since 1972. And today I want to show you this chart with you, which shows and compares the average compound annual growth rate since 1971. Unfortunately, they stopped calculating this in 2019, but you can still see the difference in return between stocks and gold is negligible. This is why I scratch my head when people say metals are an investment. I guess we'll have to say that for another video to break that down.
Dr. Stacker, where are you going with this?
Okay, relax. We're only like a minute into the video, calm down. The point I'm trying to make is regardless of the reason why you stack or your approach, our biggest problem as stackers stems from not having an educational framework, so to speak. You see, every other mainstream investment or asset class has someone or a group of people that they look to as the originator or experts or even the foremost thought leaders on how to navigate that asset class. Sure, there are people like Mike Maloney, E.B. Tucker, Jim Rickards, David Morgan, Jim Rogers, who all written books and are great thought leaders, but we don't really have a strong set of educational topics you need to learn before you invest. As a result, we're kind of out here learning about stacking the same way teenagers learn about sex. Meaning, we tend to learn from trial and error or from each other, which often includes a lot of myths, urban legends, old wives' tales, and just plain old bad information. I'm just saying. Some of y'all remember some of those conversations with your friends, right? Hands down, our biggest challenge as stackers is education. And in fact, I might even go as far to say our miseducation. In the comments, you tell me if your formal education, the one that was supposed to prepare you for life, was similar to mine. They never mentioned metals as a serious form of investment. And when they did talk about investing, they told us things like you should go buy high dividend paying blue chip stocks like Pac Bell and IBM. Or if you're a little bit younger, they dumped it down even further and said, oh, just buy index funds. They probably should have added buy, hold, and pray when you do that. No shade to folks that invest that way because it's actually decent advice for most people. As most people spend more time figuring out their grocery list or where they're going to have dinner on a Saturday night than they do researching companies to invest in. While I don't pretend to have all the right answers, I can tell you that from my mistakes and successes, there are several foundational things that you should know to maximize your investing in metals. Buying metals is a great first step, but Robert G. Allen probably says it best in his book, Multiple Streams of Income, where he talks about every dollar being an employee, and their job is to go out every day and get you more employees. That is partially why I stack metals like an investor. I don't want my employees going to work and just keeping the business afloat or keeping up with inflation. I want those dollars or metals working as hard as I do to grow and expand my business, and in this case, increase in value. One of the questions I get from a lot of new stackers is, where should I start and how do I learn and what do I need to know? The first answer is you should join Stackers University by hitting that subscribe button with the notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of this educational content. And if you've learned anything, if you're receiving value from this video, or you simply have a pulse, I need you to prove it by going ahead and hitting that like button. With that, let's look at the 7 core skills or competencies that you need to maximize your stacking efforts. Number 1, you got to start with why even buy monetary precious metals. You need to look at gold, silver, and platinum and determine which one is the best investment for you, the pros and cons of each. Number 2, you got to have goals for your investing. We've talked about this multiple times, but where are you trying to go with this? And related to that is, can I manage my emotions and the things that it's going to require of me to get where I want to go based off of my goals? What's your exit strategy? Number 3, ways to purchase precious metals, how and where. And this is really 3 categories. And the first one obviously is physical, because as stackers, we really do believe that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. We got to know how to buy and sell, how to purchase based off our goals. Should we be buying sovereigns or should we be buying generic? Should we be buying bars or should we be buying constitutional? Those are all things that you need to research and understand so that you can make the best decision for you. There's some technical things about understanding what's the difference between melt, spot, premium, and spread. There are ETFs. I know they're controversial because we like to talk about holding them, but ETFs are a very viable option. Are you buying ones that are convertible where you can trade it in, or are they backed by nothing? Those are questions that you need to ask. And mining and royalty stocks, a phenomenal way to actually get leveraged growth for your money. Something we don't talk about enough in this community, but there are multiple ways to purchase our metals besides what we physically hold in our hands. Number 4 is really about data and understanding what factors influence price. And I've listed a number of things here in general that tend to be some of the greater contributors to the price of gold. These are all things that we need to research and understand so that we can understand how the market is likely to move. Number 5, how does each metal perform during economic expansions, contraction, stagnation, geopolitical concerns, because each of these metals react differently. So what's their historical performance? What have they done in the past? What can you expect? Number 6, technical analysis. The ability to look at chart, read candlesticks. You don't need to totally nerd out like I do and understand all of Elliott Wave, but you do need to understand how markets tend to move. And so you can use that to help you decide when to buy or which direction the market is, and maybe you hold back a little bit. It's not that you're trying to time the market, but if you know that metals perform in a certain way, why not wait a week or two to make a purchase, knowing that you're going to be able to save yourself a few dollars? And number 7, market cycles. We've talked about this multiple times here on this channel, but do you understand the anatomy of a bubble and how people tend to act at different parts of the investment cycle? It's a great indicator for you to get a sense of where things are going. I know we don't like to think about selling our metals until we give them to our children or whatever, but if you know that the market is hitting the top and it's just going to come back down in a normal cyclic kind of fashion, why not liquidate some of your metals, cash out at a higher price, lock in a profit, wait for the market to go back down and buy it cheaper? We don't have to watch the price of metals fall and just sit there and continue to stacking. We can lock in profits. You never go broke by making a profit, and wait and buy our things back at a cheaper price. Each one of these topics could easily be a book unto itself, which is incredibly overwhelming. And so instead of you getting overwhelmed, when you start to learn about these topics, I want you to think about it being like digging a trench that is 1 foot deep and 1 mile wide. Generally understand the topic, generally understand the concepts. And then as you continue to grow and learn more and more, what you'll find out is that you'll start to dig into each of these topics, and you'll be digging trenches that are actually 1 mile deep, 1 foot wide. Don't overwhelm yourself and allow that learning and your knowledge to evolve over time. I want to share a couple thoughts with you from Dr. Carter G. Woodson. And while he was referencing blacks when he made some of these statements, I believe it really speaks to the education, especially the financial education we all receive. His major critique was that education is about culturally indoctrinating us rather than teaching us. And I'm going to add, it really is about teaching us to be working class so that we can become more dependent on the system and seek out inferior places in the greater society. Dr. Woodson submitted that we needed to become autodidacts or self-taught, and that if we don't learn how to do for ourselves, we will be forced to become dependent solely on others. This quote that I'm about to share just blows my mind, and I read this book 30 years ago and it still blows my mind. And it's just really powerful. It says, if you can control a man's thinking, then you don't have to worry about his actions. When you determine what a man shall think, you don't have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you don't need to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you don't have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. And think about our education, and especially our financial education. How true is that? I, like many of you, had to learn how to overcome an educational system that was not concerned about my financial education because I was poor. It was not concerned about helping me break free of the rat race or showing me how to build businesses to create wealth. I was taught to strive to be middle class, never wealthy or rich. So I implore you to spend more time on your financial and business education than you do on making your grocery list, watching TikTok, or fiddling around on social media. Invest in you, your education, and your children's education so that we never have to seek or use that financial back door that Carter G. Woodson referred to, but we have our own financial house that others seek and strive towards. In the comment section, I want you to commit to learning one thing from that list of stacking competencies. Which topic are you going to go after first? How are you going to do it? And why is it important for you to learn? Or you can simply put A+ in the comment section because you know you are my A+ students for making it all the way through the video. I hope you feel inspired and I have poured goodness into your cup, because when you are a part of Stackers University, well, you already know what I'm about to say. Say it with me. We always stack smarter and never stop learning.